This is the Washington Times front page for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo.
The front page is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. Their gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from an economic meltdown and is both tax and penalty-free. Call 866-525-4680 for more or text TWT to 65532.
Ohio Representative Jim Jordan gained significant momentum in his quest for the Speaker's gavel, but was still working to persuade Republican holdouts to provide enough support for him in a floor vote. Susan Ferricchio and Kerry Pickett report the Judiciary Committee chair said he's determined to hold the vote Tuesday, even though he may not win on the first or subsequent rounds of voting. As few as 4 Republicans can derail him, and it may be hard to flip several holdouts from Democratic-leaning districts who do not back Jordan's far-right policies. Several Republicans, including Carlos Jimenez of Florida and Mike Lawler of New York, said they would vote for former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And Don Bacon of Nebraska told reporters he wouldn't back Jordan because it would reward the small band of far-right conservatives who ousted McCarthy. As Israel plans a military move to dismantle Hamas, analysts say the terrorist group and its Iranian backers are already into their plan to portray Israel as the aggressor. Ben Wolfgang reports media coverage in recent days has largely turned to deteriorating humanitarian conditions in Gaza, which include hospitals running out of food and medicine and children without access to shelter or clean water. Hamas and its allies seem to believe they can capitalize on those images to do lasting damage to Israel, both in the public relations arena and on the geopolitical front. The UN and humanitarian groups say Israel's evacuation warning and its total blockade of basic goods have created an intolerable situation in Gaza. Egyptian officials said Israel was blocking supply trucks loaded with basic goods from crossing the lone gateway from Egypt into Gaza.
The front page is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. When you look at the news today, all you see is a financial landscape that's growing more and more dangerous, especially for your retirement funds. Stubborn inflation, soaring interest rates, and astronomical debt could drain their value. The good news is that there's a strategy that can protect your financial future. It's the Gold IRA from American Hartford Gold. This Gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from an economic meltdown and is both tax and penalty-free. American Hartford Gold has earned a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Mention the Front Page Podcast and they'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. Call 866-525-4680 or text TWT to 65532. That's 866-525-4680 or text TWT to 65532.
The FBI says murders, rapes, and assaults dropped nationally over the past year, but car thefts and larceny have spiked. Matt Delaney reports the FBI's 2022 Uniform Crime Report notes the 1.7% overall decline in violent crime was driven mainly by fewer homicides and non-negligent manslaughter. The national homicide rate spiked 29% in 2020, before a slight decline in 2021 and a further downward acceleration in 2022. The FBI said the violent crime rate was 380.7 per 100,000 people, a touch better than the 380.8 per 100,000 people in 2019. Places including Cleveland, Dallas, Miami, and Washington, D.C. are among the outliers, however, places where violence has worsened since the pandemic. The Labor Department's Pandemic Relief First Week Unemployment Benefits Program has been shut down for 2 years, but the department is hoarding nearly $5 billion in allocations. Stephen Dinan reports the $5 billion is left over from $12.5 billion that Congress set aside to help states speed up payment of unemployment insurance benefits early in the pandemic. An inspector general said it's time to return the money to the Treasury Department and warned that leaving that kind of money in a government account is a risk for waste, fraud, and abuse. And finally, national politics reporter Seth MacLachlan looked at some policies and procedures former President Trump would undertake if he wins a second term. Trump claims he'll bolster the economy, end foreign conflicts, and win culture wars. He says his first job would be reversing President Biden's agenda, which he blames for scarring multiple aspects of the country. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/frontpage or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.